Sellers.
Here. Supervisor Hickman, will you introduce your guest that will lead us in the invocation and pledge today? And could I have everyone stand, please?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, and Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say a couple words after the prayer and pledge, but it's my pleasure to introduce from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. What's the rank? Lieutenant. Marty Overton is joining us today, so thank you, Marty, for being here.
Thank you, Board of Supervisors, for the opportunity. Just a quick introduction. My name is Lieutenant Marty Overton. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 25 years. I currently serve as the Chase Field Ballpark Commander. Father in heaven, as we gather today, let us take a moment to pause and reflect. We come together not only as leaders, but as a community united in purpose. We give thanks for the bravery and dedication of our first responders, those who serve selflessly to protect and support us in times of need. May we honor their commitment and sacrifice, and may their courage inspire us in our work today. As we discuss important matters, let us be guided by wisdom, compassion, and a sense of duty to serve our constituents. May our decisions reflect the values of integrity and justice, ensuring safety and well-being for all. Let us remember those who put themselves in harm's way, and may our actions today strengthen our community and support those who protect us. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Marty, before you leave, I just wanted to say how special it is for me to have you today. I also asked Kevin to be here, but he's in FBI training. And what I would like you guys, everyone, to know that Marty Overton and I believe, met on a Sunday night in December of 2020. When a certain individual called me from a certain group and said, "Hey, Clint, there are people that will be coming to your house to protest you." And he said, "I don't agree with it, but I just thought I would let you know that and do what you may." So I called Sheriff Pinzone and said, "I don't know what's going to occur, but some people supposedly are coming to my house to protest me and this board as we certified and canvassed the vote." So I got to meet Marty. I got to talk to him. He was halfway believing that this was just somebody making a crank call until on the radio, one of the undercover officers said, "Yes, and it's not just one or two, it's going to be about 100 people, and they're on their way." And Marty and Kevin, basically with myself, almost sprang into action. First of all, not believing it was going to happen, but he asked me to protect your family, please stay inside the house. Your family means everything to me in the Sheriff's Department. And I got to watch Kevin and Marty, let's say, greet 100 protesting people, and all he did was kept reminding them, "You are breaking the law," recited the statute, and they just kept coming. They dismounted from their cars and came right up to the curb on my house. And Marty had told me, "Please, please do not come outside unless we bang on the door and we need your help," okay? So he was there that night, and he was protecting my family. It's established a great relationship. Marty and I are a lot alike. His son just graduated college, and he was a pitcher through college, through 2 different universities. And now my middle son is signed a letter of commitment, and he's going to be pitching for the University of Arizona. So ever since December of that night, most of the time it's Marty and I talking about friendship, talking about the the Sheriff's Department that he so loves to support. And I got to see it all come into play at the last World Series, where Marty was protecting all of us at Chase Field, and I invited him to come and see the family and see how they've grown over a 3-year time period. So I want to thank Marty, I want to thank Kevin, and I want to thank all of the Maricopa County Sheriff's officers. We have elections coming up again. I appreciate their constant vigilance for all of us, our county workers, our staff, our elections people, and basically everything that they do, looking at danger. That night it was 2 people, there was 100 people with 2 protection officers there, but every day they are out there on the streets protecting all of us in different capacities to unknown dangers until somebody picks up a weapon. So thank you to all. It's really great on my way out the door that I get to honor Marty, I get to honor Kevin, if he was here, but he's training, as well as the rest of our deputies. Thank you very much for what you do for our community. And thank you, Marty, for taking me up on the invite. I asked him, Marty, with you saying a prayer, I haven't seen that out of you just now, and said, are we going to both get a lightning bolt? And he said, no, sir, which is great. Thank you. Even God listens. So thank you, Marty, for being here, and thank you for everything that you do.
It was an honor to protect your family. I value your friendship. And for the record, you remember that night when I got home, when it was over, my wife yelled at me because I couldn't snap my fingers and make 100 people go away. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Okay, next up is our pet showcase by Maricopa County Animal Care and Control. Kim, please introduce us to the star of today's pet showcase, Ricochet.
Well, as fate would have it, Ricochet had been at the shelter for a month without any interest, and the second I sent you guys an email saying I'll bring Ricochet, he got transferred to one of our partners. So today I have Willie. Willie has been at the shelter. He first arrived on August 10th, but believe it or not, he's been returned a couple of times, all due to the fact that they didn't have time for him and he needs training. Of course he needs training. He is a 1-year-old lab. So we're hoping that his forever home is out there, because really all that matters is that Willie is the friendliest, happiest dog I think I might have ever met. Do you want to jump up there? I know you counter serve, so we'll see if he does it. But he is as friendly as can be. His tail wags so fast that his entire body wiggles with it, so he's just dancing all the time. He does walk great on a leash. He does tend to stick by your side. If you're sitting down, he thinks he's a lap dog, and he'll try to place his 2 paws on your lap, and he's trying to go meet another new friend here. I think everyone here has become friends with Willie this morning. And there's another friend. The previous adopters did say he was great with kids as young as 2 years old, so that's a great note for us to have. He does counter serve, so that means he jumps, puts his paws on the counter, and will eat whatever you left on top. So don't leave the cookies on the counter, don't leave your chips out. He will find them, and again, that's just another Labrador trait. So he will need some training, and of course it takes time to learn the new rules of a home and the boundaries. So if someone just gives him time, he really is the friendliest dog, and that's really all you can ask for. And the good news is he's already neutered, so that means he can go home today.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, are there any announcements or corrections to the agenda?
Chairman, Supervisors, I do have one announcement. Item number 10 on page 7. That is item number 10, patent easement abandonment PAB 0249. That item needs to be continued to the October 23rd meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a domestic violence award proclamation. Madam Clerk.
Good morning. Thank you. Domestic Violence Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas domestic violence is an epidemic affecting Americans in all communities, regardless of age, gender, sexual orientation, economic status, race, religion, or educational background. Whereas domestic violence is a pattern where one partner uses their power to control the other partner through physical, sexual, emotional, or financial abuse. Whereas the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence reports that nearly 1 in 2 women, 1 in 4 men, and 1 in 2 transgender and non-conforming individuals will experience some form of inmate partner violence in their lifetime. Whereas last year, in 2023, 83 people were killed in domestic violence-related homicides in Arizona, 87% of which occurred in Maricopa County, according to ACES-DV. Whereas enhanced education, prevention, and intervention efforts will increase public awareness and confront the abuse of power and control in interpersonal relationships. Now therefore be it resolved that the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and encourages all citizens of Arizona to support the efforts of organizations providing education, outreach, and support to victims of domestic violence, and calls upon citizens to dedicate themselves to ending all forms of violence and the abuse of power in relationships. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will now consider item 5.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for item number 5 for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, let me apologize for my tardiness. What I thought was going to be a 15 or 30-minute Zoom call turned out to be an hour and something minutes, but nonetheless, I'm glad here. I appreciate the proclamation. Thank you so much for bringing it forward. We really have taken a leadership role here at the county in really working with our employees and working with those outside of the county family to really bring awareness to this important issue. As you know, we had, and I can't remember the first year we lit our building purple. Do you remember? It's been a while. Tom Manos days.
Manos.
It was Tom Manos days. Yeah, so we joined the calling throughout downtown Phoenix in lighting our building purple during the month of October. I know the state capitol, I think even the Supreme Court lights their building purple. And it's interesting now, you even go, at least in many of the cities in my district, like Avondale, Tolleson, the police department, they're all purple. And you're seeing it just grow, where you have more municipalities and governments that are participating and really bringing awareness around domestic violence. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for once again bringing this on the agenda and having us approve it. The wish is if there is an employee or someone out there that is in a sticky situation, most oftentimes they're embarrassed. They don't know where to go. They keep it quiet. They're ashamed, whatever. The message is we're here for them, and if they need help, we're here to guide them and get them the appropriate help, that they're not alone. And that's the message we send when we light our building purple, do the proclamations, wear the purple ribbons. And I think that is so important when you're servicing so many employees in such a large county. This issue becomes really critical for us to be on the forefront with. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well said. Thank you, Supervisor. Okay, moving to the planning and zoning hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just want to address something that I brought up with you before the hearing. There's a lot of staff here today, and I know in the past few meetings, we've had folks come and ask questions, and staff has done a terrific job of answering. May I ask that staff identify themselves and their title position before they speak so people watching in the crowd or on media can understand who's talking?
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Okay, planning and zoning hearing, consent agenda, item 6, White Tank Vistas. Madam Clerk, are there any registered speakers or comments on item 6?
I do not have any for this item, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, being that there are no speakers, I move approval of the Planning and Zoning Consent Agenda, item number 6, in accordance with the Commission recommendation as printed on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Planning and Zoning Hearing Regular Agenda. Item 7, AZ01-177 Cobra/PHO de Oro Ranch. And before we get started on this item, I'll ask Tom and Darren to come up to the front, please. This is a planning and zoning hearing. I will give those in favor and those opposed each 5 minutes total to present their information to the board after we hear from our staff.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Tom Ellsworth. I'm the Director of Planning and Development here at the county. With me is Darren Gerard. He is our planning manager. He oversees all of our planning and zoning cases and our staff. This particular case is zoning case Z2024-056, also known as A01-177 Cobra or PHO de Oro Ranch. This is in District 4. The subject property is located south of Pinnacle Peak Road and west of 83rd Avenue on Planada Lane. The specific request is for a special use permit for the locating of a wireless communication facility or cell tower. It should be noted that this is a special use permit regarding the location of that tower as it's related to the design standards. Wireless communication facilities are allowed in all zoning districts within the county. This has relation to the proposed tower itself. The site is situated within a rural 43 zoning district. There is a school to the east, Great Hearts Academy. They own the property to the east and to the north of this site. The location of this tower is in the northern portions of this just over 1 acre lot. The zoning code requires that there be a 2-foot separation from any property line per foot of height on the cell tower. The proposed cell tower is 75 feet tall, which would require a 150-foot setback from that property line. The applicant is proposing to modify those through the SUP to 106 foot 6 inches to the west, 32 feet 8 inch to the north, and 44 foot 8 inch to the west. To the east was the 106 foot. All of that would be to accommodate this cell tower. The cell tower is proposed to be of a stealth design. It's an elm tree design. As part of the SUP, they're requesting modifications to the structure to accommodate the stealth design. One is the diameter of the pole itself is 2.5 feet. They're asking for 4.5 feet to allow for the structural stability needed. And the antenna arrays per code are supposed to be an 8-foot maximum diameter. They're proposing 14-foot 8. As we discuss this site, the applicant has done outreach efforts. There's been significant concern from the outlying neighborhood and particularly from families that attend the school to the east themselves. Most of those concerns are relating public health concerns and the safety of the tower. This was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board at their commission at their August 8th hearing. A lot of the concerns that were heard were regarding the safety of cell towers themselves and the natures of those. Staff's been advised by council that that is the purview of the Federal Communications or the FCC, and per the Federal Telecommunications Act, municipalities are not allowed to consider the health consequences of cell towers. It's not in the purview for the location of those cell towers. Our code is set up for these distance requirements, for the ability to aesthetically blend within a community, and for the safety of those towers themselves. In consideration of this request, the commission voted 7-0 to deny this request. They cited that they felt that the height of the tower and the proximity to the property lines would pose a danger to the adjacent properties if there was, in the event of a fall of that tower. So they were not upholding the request to modify the distance of that tower to those property lines. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman, this is in my district. I don't need to hear anything more. I'd rather get to the comments quickly.
Okay, again, I will allow 5 minutes from each side, and so I would ask the people in opposition to please decide who will speak during their 5 minutes. So we will start with the people in favor, please.
Mr. Chairman, we're under the impression because there's 2 schools that each of us can speak if it has to be one. That's fine. But the lower school, elementary school, and then myself as well, the headmaster of the 6th through 12th grade school. Is that possible?
I would go ahead and allow that because the concern is for school children around there, and there's 2 schools. So I would ask the chairman to go ahead and hear from both, but I would ask them to keep it as limited as we can. We've got a big agenda. I've looked at the issue, so I just want to hear quickly.
Okay, so we will start with those in favor. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Chairman. The first speaker in favor is Doug Beerbauer.
Let me ask something. Is the applicant?
Chairman, Supervisors, the applicant is available also to speak and present.
Okay, well, let's start with the applicant.
Yeah, I'd like to start with the applicant. He's here representing that. So.
Got you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name's Craig Morgan. I'm a lawyer with Sherman and Howard. I represent Pinnacle Consulting, who represents Sun State Towers and Verizon Wireless. I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it, sir. Yes. Multiple companies, including our client, have been trying to find a suitable candidate for this facility that this area desperately needs. We reviewed commercial and large lots throughout the area, including Campbell's Restaurants and others, and we've been unable to find anyone, any place to put this wireless facility. This is the only place it can be placed. Before the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing, the planner assigned to this project recommended approval, the person you hire to make these decisions, analyze these things. During that hearing, there was a lot of discussion about health, safety, things that you just can't consider. Nonetheless, based on that discussion, they used this setback issue as a pretext to recommend denial. And I submit to the board that you shouldn't fall for that ruse. The bottom line is that this area desperately needs this facility. It's not just about the school and the people that attend the school. It's not just about the owner of the land. It's about those who have the right to have the best wireless facilities possible. It's about the right of all businesses and residents to have good access to first responders, to be able to communicate with the world as the United States and its laws require, that our client bring the best possible wireless services to the area. It's about having safe and reliable wireless access. It's about having that access to conduct business throughout the state and the world, to continue to grow the community. It's about children in those schools being able to learn as much as possible with the latest technologies. And the need for a special use permit here should not be, and frankly cannot be, disqualifying. This board's given countless permits in similar situations. The fact of the matter is the light poles at the adjacent school don't meet a 2-to-1 setback. The fact of the matter is that if this pole were to fall, it's going to fall within the area where it's located in that land. And unless you're trespassing, you shouldn't be hit. The fact of the matter is that if they want us to lower the facility by 10 feet to 65 feet, we're willing to do it. If they want us to reduce the antenna width to meet the 8-foot standards, we're willing to do it. If they want us to move it on the location itself, we can do that. We can move it as far west as possible from the school. We can move it west and south, and we'll meet that 1-to-1 setback. But this needs to be there. There's no place else to put it, and the residents of District 4 need this technology. They need to have reliable wireless technology. And I submit the only reason Planning and Zoning has recommended you don't approve is because they heard things they weren't allowed to consider. And they considered them, and they used them to use the setback issue as a pretext to prevent this from occurring, because they just are worried about things that frankly aren't accurate, and it's based on misinformation and it's untrue. So I ask that this board consider the reality that this technology is necessary and needed in the area, consider what happened at that Planning and Zoning meeting and whether legally it was appropriate, and vote in favor of the tower. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would submit, if you do not mind, I would like to hear from the two schools
Okay.
real quick at this moment. So I don't know how many more speaker slips, but that came in under 5, so I'd like to hear from them.
Good morning. My name is Suzanne DeStefano. I serve as the headmaster of a Great Hearts Elementary School, Archway Classical Academy, Glendale. My school sits next to the site of the proposed cell tower. I stand here for myself, my students, families, and teachers in opposition of the proposal. Archway is a pillar of the community. Since 2013, our school has been one of the most sought-after public elementary schools in all of Arizona. Academically, we rank in the 95th percentile of schools in the state. We are a public school that provides a top-tier education that was formerly only reserved for the wealthy who could afford private school. We provide a tremendous service to the residents of District 4 of Maricopa County. My school is building future leaders that can not only read and write well, but are rooted in truth, beauty, and goodness. 565 students and 65 faculty and staff members enter our doors each day. Many parents have tearfully reached out to me with grave concerns about the risks a cell tower could present. Over 130 of our families have expressed strong opposition to the cell tower and that they may need to disenroll from our school, a school that they love, where their children are thriving. Their primary concern, as is ours, is the safety of the children. Based on the current proposal, the Archway property is within the fall zone of the tower. My students play daily along the fence line of the property. The football field to the east of the proposed cell tower is in constant use. Students play on it before school, in the morning, at lunchtime, in the afternoon, every day. It's where we shepherd our students during fire drills once a month to ensure their safety in case of a catastrophe. The field is also used for sporting and community events after hours. This may be a small risk, but is it one we should take? Every year during monsoons on our school's property, we have decade-old trees that are uprooted or just snap. What are the risks of the artificial tree limbs or cell tower parts falling off in inclement weather upon my field where my students are playing? Again, whatever the likelihood, parents of young children are worried about such prospects near where their children play. The property where the tower is proposed has dozens of old, broken-down vehicles on it. They've had a dumpster in their front yard for years, overflowing with garbage. The combination of debris, refuse, and leaking old cars next to the major electrical source of a cell tower is dangerous for both the property and those adjacent to it. I ask the board, if your children went to school here, would you want their property to have a cell tower next to where your children play? Returning to the concerned parents, should Archway lose even half of the students due to the tower, it would be devastating to their education. Sudden and massive disenrollment also greatly impacts the school on many levels. It has budgetary implications and could affect the ability to continue employment for teachers that have dedicated their lives to serving the students at our school.
Chairman, I just want to make sure that the other, unless you're talking for the other school.
I have like 10 more seconds.
Okay.
Thank you. The decade that we have spent on this parcel of land has been a resounding success and a boon to the community and families of Maricopa County. For the well-being of our students, families, and faculty, I implore you to oppose our neighbor's proposition that would certainly have deleterious effects for our school community. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration. We appreciate the work you do on our behalf as elected leaders.
I'll just skip to the end. Thank you. The neighbor has a right to build a cell tower without a special request. The cell company can certainly pick a location that is not residential, adjacent, feet away from where students play and grow for 13 years. After years of cell companies seeking anyone in this area to put up a tower on a property, one company has finally found one person who says yes, but with one caveat. I want to put it as close to 1,200 students as possible with your approval. This was already denied, but we are here again. I humbly ask that you deny the request to reduce the setbacks, given the heartache this will have for people I love and the rippling effects it will have in the community for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor?
Is there anyone with a speaker slip that is just bound and determined that they need to say something.
Chairman, I do have 2 speaker forms in opposition, and both have marked they wish to speak. And then I have one in favor that wishes to speak and another that only wants to register her position. In these 2 in favor.
Mr. Chairman, with that limited left, I'll go ahead and hear the remainder of the speaking, if you don't mind. Go ahead.
Yes.
In opposition,
Sure.
Morgan Lorette.
Hello, my name is Morgan Lorette. I got a couple of kids at Great Hearts, and I'm here in opposition. So I know a lot about cell phones, a lot about cell phone towers. When I was in Baghdad as U.S. Army intelligence officer, that's how we track terrorists. So I know exactly what's going in and what isn't going in. And I see cell phone towers, or most people don't. When I'm running my dogs, I see cell towers. When I'm driving my car, I see cell towers, because I know how to triangulate where people are based on their cell phone. The one thing I've never seen is a cell tower in a junkyard. And that's what this property is. There's over 40 dilapidated cars. It looks like the Indy 500 aftermath. I have it on pretty good authority that Lightning McQueen goes there and cries every night for his fallen brethren. I'm just saying, it's that bad. So the problem is that they've had 60 days to clean it up. They've had 60 days to do anything. The only thing I've seen change is that there's a bathtub out there. I don't know what they're doing bathing, but the naked statues out there, it's got to have something to do with it. So if they didn't do anything in those 60 days, how bad do they really need this cell phone tower? How bad does it need to be in that area? And I would just implore you, if you had kids that are in school or school age, this is within that fall tower, or that fall zone. It is 44 feet when the tower is 75 feet. I'm not a math scientist, but I can tell you that it's in the fall zone to get over to Great Hearts. So I would just ask you that if you want your kids to be in a fall zone like that with all that combustible material that's right next to a cell phone tower, then go ahead and vote yes. But for the parents over there, we want you to vote no. Our kids are more important than having cell phone coverage when the cell phone companies have offered to put boosters in people's houses. No. Thank you.
Next up in opposition, Aaron Trimble.
Hi there, my name is Erin Trimble. I am a nearby neighbor of the house that's requesting this permit. I'm not within the 300 feet radius, but I'm very, very close, and we are greatly opposed. We also have 2 of our 7 kids are currently students at Great Hearts, so I'm speaking in behalf of the neighbors and also parents and children at the school. Like I mentioned, we're very opposed to the building, and first and foremost, what should be reason enough is the fall radius, and also any possibility of windstorm causing any of the branches or parts at the top to come down and injure students or properties around. Secondly, it would be a huge eyesore and possibly bring our property value down. We pride ourselves in keeping our home and property looking nice, and to have something like this go up in a residential area, it would bring our property value down, and is another reason we're opposed. Next, this home currently has open and pending code violation cases. It's definitely a catch-all, to say it nicely. If something caught fire, it would be a disaster if the cell phone tower were there. I know there's a cement pad for a future garage to house some of the cars, but it would only hold a couple of cars, not anything close to being able to contain the numerous cars that are on the property and all the clutter. This property owner has filled up his property, and it's kind of spilling onto his mom's next door. At what point does the county look out for upstanding citizens in the community and put our best interest first, instead of letting one homeowner who already has several code complaints against their property benefit financially from a cell tower on their property when it could go somewhere else and not negatively affect neighbors, families, young children, and your constituents? And I'm also a Verizon customer, and I have perfect service where I am at, so I don't feel like it's needed. Thank you.
Next up in favor is Doug Bergbauer. And for the record, Deborah Grunwald has filled out a speaker form in favor only to register her position in favor.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Doug Bergbauer, and I own the property at 8412 West Planada Lane. One word: hypocrisy. While my family had little to no voice when the school was built, I am now at the mercy of this group opposed to the cell tower that has little or no effect on them. The school came in and made promises of green space buffer zones, a CMU wall, and no sports facilities. The reality is a chain link fence, single row of trees and shrubs, and stadium lighting that lights up my property like it was daytime. From school events, I get litter, excessive noise, damaged property, and mistreatment of my animals. My family is consistently threatened and verbally abused for not selling our property to the school. If you are one of those in this room, shame on you. In the last meeting, there was a woman that lost her husband to cancer, which is a terrible and devastating event. However, I disagree that she used that as a mechanism to voice her disapproval to an unrelated context. I feel for her and understand the emotional trauma of her loss. 5 years ago today, I lost my dad and grandfather within 2 months of each other. Days after each loss, the school attempted to purchase my family's properties at a discounted cost far below appraised value, stating that we no longer needed all that property anyways. Emotional trauma wasn't respected then. However, it led the cause and the force to push this agenda in the last meeting. Hypocrisy. Fall zone is also in discussion. Where was the parental opposition to the fall zones of the 75-foot stadium lighting installed at the school right now? One of which is only 10 feet from my property line. Hypocrisy. The main opposition to this tower is over RF safety and health concerns. A neighbor down the street went door to door with a flyer that included misinformation. Instead of using data from regulated agencies, he chose a fringe group outside the regulation of governmental testing guidelines. The hypocrisy is that every person in opposition has children within a Wi-Fi environment, iPads,
okay, please wrap up.
EVs, and those testing guidelines are good enough for their cell phones, but not good enough for our tower. Please use the critical scientific evidence that is proven from governmental agencies as the basis of your decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Hickman, you have questions for any of the presenters?
No, actually, I don't. There were some points brought up that maybe I can touch on real quickly. I thought I would be very specific for the applicant. I did note comments. I think we clearly spelled it out that health concerns that's of cancer causing, and that some of this stuff is up to the FTC. As you can see, we don't have that type of guidance that we can give, and we can't frame our decision on anything like that. I say it quite often, I am very proud of my picks for these boards and commissions for District 4. I know currently the Planning and Zoning chairman of that commission, Mr. Eric Hernandez, I think did a very good job in navigating this issue and calling attention to some things during the meeting. And it's because of that, and because we stick in the parameters of what we need to look at, and the way he was doing it, it resulted in a 7-0 commission vote against this authorization of this permit. So when people are saying that, how can the county be so blind, or I hope they're taking a look, we do. It's through our commissions, and it's our staff that looks into these things. I don't think that commission was looking at anything different than what I am looking at it. It's awfully rare to have a 7-0 commission vote for this board to not hear what they looked at and decide something different. It can be done. That's the total decision rests with us. But when it comes to an item like this, we make sure that they heard these issues. That's what they do, and they hear issues, everything under the sun, in order to get it to this point for us. So I want to be very specific in what I say here for the record. We are not here today to discuss health concerns about cell towers. A cell tower can be built on this property. It still can be, by right, if it meets the 2-to-1 lot line setback. The special use permit is to not meet those setback requirements. The neighborhood and school have come out in opposition to this special use permit. They don't wish to see a lesser setback from the school property to the cell tower. It appears a cell tower cannot be erected on this site in concert with normal 2-to-1 ordinance requirements at the height they are requesting, and I don't think the site is appropriate for a cell tower special use for that height. The commission unanimously recommended denial of the request. Therefore, to my board, I move denial of agenda item 7 in accordance with the commission recommendation as printed on the agenda.
Thank you, Supervisor. We have a motion
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion is denied. Or the denial is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, under statutory hearings, transportation, items 8 and 9, patent easement abandonments as listed on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any registered speakers or comments received on items 8 and 9?
Chairman, Supervisors, I did receive one speaker form from David Schwartz. He is in favor for item number 9 and is available to speak only if necessary.
Thank you. The board will now consider items 8 and 9.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Statutory hearings continued. Transportation, item 10, patent easement abandonment as listed on the agenda. And this item is going to be continued. I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to continue item number 10.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second.
Chairman, just to be clear, this item is being continued to October 23rd meeting.
23rd.
Thank you.
For 23rd, do we need to amend?
Yeah. We're meeting with the folks on this one.
Okay.
So.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, under statutory hearings, continued, air quality. Item 11, Rule 338, semiconductor manufacturing. Item 12, Rule 331, solvent cleaning. Item 13, Rule 326, steelmaking operations, electric arc furnaces. Item 14, Rule 330, volatile organic compounds. Madam Clerk, are there any registered speakers or comments received on items 11 through 14?
Chairman, I have two speaker forms. Dan Schroeder wishes to speak on item number 11, then followed by Brad, looks like Cross, wishes to speak on item number 14. Dan Schroeder, I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly.
Right, Mr. Chair and the board, agenda item 11, 12, and 13 all deal with you. Revising Rule 338, semiconductor manufacturing, a proposed revision of the Maricopa County air pollution control regulations. The purpose of Rule 338 is to limit the volatile organic compound emissions from the semiconductor manufacturing industry. They are proposing to revise Rule 338 to incorporate reasonable available control technology controls for nitrogen oxide emissions generated during the semiconductor manufacturing process. Mr. Chair and board, my question to you is this: are these changes happening because the new Chinese semiconductor factory that's in Maricopa? What exactly has prompted this revision for agenda 11, 12, and 13, which are all about volatile organic compound emissions? Has the new Chinese semiconductor factory prompted any of these changes, and why? And if not, then what has prompted the need for the revisions to all three of these agenda items? And what is considered controlled technology?
County Manager?
Mr. Chairman, Phil and Kim are here from the Air Quality Department, and they can answer those questions. Chairman Sellers, members of the board. I'm Philip McNeely, the director of the Air Quality Department. All these rules are a result of EPA and ozone. So we've been in non-attainment for ozone for quite a long time, but the 2015 standard is the challenge that we have right now. EPA is requiring us to look at all the precursors for ozone, which is VOCs and nitrogen oxide, which is NOx. We have to look at all of our rules to make sure they're consistent with the other rules across the country and guidelines from the EPA. So these rules have really nothing to do with any other facility or any other country. It has to do with our failure to meet the ozone standard and EPA requiring us to look at our rules, to update them, to make sure they're consistent with the other rules across the country.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, Brad Cross. If you can please state your name when you approach the podium to make sure that I pronounce your name correctly.
Usually they say gross, but I say don't call me gross until you get to know me. It's Goss, G-O-S-S. So Rule 14, okay, we're at Rule 330, volatile organic compounds, another revision. Last revision was in 1996. What was so drastically changed in the volatility of the organic compounds that you're changing it to technology that hasn't been proven yet? Mr. Chair, what has prompted this recent change? Thanks.
Bill?
Chairman Sellers and members of the board, it's the same reason why we're changing it. It's my previous comment, ozone standard, and EPA is making us look at all the VOC rules.
Well, and I guess I would point out that Maricopa County is very, very concerned about improving our air quality. We're very concerned about ensuring that we have a healthy environment for our citizens. What we're trying to do with these rules is have them make as much sense as possible for the way we live in Arizona and the way our environment is impacted by the way we live here. So thank you. Okay, the board will now consider items 11 through 14.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve items 11 through 14.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under County Officers, Board of Supervisors, items 15 through 17, Community Solutions Funding as listed on the agenda. Item 18, Resignation and Appointment to Planning and Zoning Commission. Under Clerk of the Board, items 19 through 25, Special Event License for Wilderness Volunteers, Wickenburg Historical Preservation Society, Horses Help Foundation, 16 by 16 Inc., St. Catherine Greek Orthodox Church, World Ride, and Bob's Free Bikes.
Chairman, I do have one speaker form from Blue Crawley. He wishes to speak on one of the Community Solutions funding item number 16.
It's more to get some information. I believe I have it for 15 and 16. And then on the next one I have in there is 30s, I think 34 and 36. And both of them are giving air conditioning units to a Mesa facility. And I understand how Mesa is a part of the county and how it's, part of the thing says that this does good for the county, but I'm wondering why you have the air conditioning units in one, and then it's the two different facilities, and then in the one in the 30s, I think it's 34 and 36, the other one gets 6 air conditioning units. Is it that you have to do one and then do the other? or why the convoluted situation there?
County Manager.
Thank you, Chairman. The 36 and 37 are the agreements with the City of Mesa to transfer the funds, and then these agenda items are the approval to use the Community Solutions funds from the board. So one is our agreement with the city, and the other is the approval to use the funds.
Be nicer if they were closer together, and then it wouldn't be so confusing.
Okay, thank you. The board will now consider items 15 through 25.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 15 through 25, but I'd also like to make a comment about number 18.
Okay.
I'll second, Mr.
We
Chairman.
have a motion and a second. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, item number 18 is regarding a resignation and an appointment to the Planning Commission. I would like to thank Jay Swart for his service for Maricopa County. He has served Maricopa County and actually the city of Phoenix in a variety of ways for years, so I appreciate his service. And I'm really excited that a person of great stature and gravitas, and Linda Milhaven, has agreed to serve on the Maricopa County Planning and Zoning Commission. Linda Milhaven has a great reputation in the Valley for her service on the City of Scottsdale as a council member, and also in her dedication to working as a partner with Maricopa County. And I want to particularly highlight how closely I worked with her and how much I appreciate the work that she did when we worked on the Rio Verde Foothills water situation. And there's a lot of people that deserve credit for that ultimately getting resolved. But Linda Milhaven deserves a great deal and a share of that credit. And one thing that she did throughout that entire ordeal was act with leadership and with understanding of all sides, and also with integrity, which is vitally important. And sometimes we don't see that, especially over in Scottsdale. However, I look forward to seeing Linda Milhaven serving Maricopa County, and she'll be joined by another former council member in Suzanne Clapp, who is serving Maricopa County on the Board of Adjustment. I feel like I'm assembling a dream team here with great people who have really done great work for our county. And I look forward to working with Linda, and I know one thing is that she will approach every single case that appears before her at the Planning Commission with that integrity that she's exemplified throughout her public service. So I appreciate her willingness to step up and once again serve us in a variety of ways. And I'm glad she's on Maricopa County's team. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Madam Clerk, have we voted?
No.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, under County Attorney, item 26, amend home detention electronic monitoring services contract. Item 27, data sharing agreement with Arizona Department of Education. Item 28, MOU with Arizona Child and Family Advocacy Network. Item 29, MOU with New Life Center. Under Sheriff, items 30 through 32, amend agreements with Arizona Department of Homeland Security. Under Treasurer, item 33, application for treasurer's deeds.
Chairman, I do have one speaker form from Stephanie Pleasance, wishes to speak on item number 32, which is an amendment to an agreement from the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. Item 32.
Number 32, amendment to sub-grantee agreement from the Arizona Department of Homeland Security. All these contracts state they must use the budget by a certain date, and then they are granted extensions when they don't fulfill the contract. Unfortunately, this looks like a money laundering scheme. All these rules are fully flexible for their shady doings in a city hall. But citizens miss one tax payment, and homes can have a lien against it and can be auctioned off. That's shameful. Your agenda item says the original award amount of $113,460 was approved on October 18, 2024. Mr. Chair, it looks like whoever wrote this agenda must have made a mistake. How can $113,460 be approved on October 18th, 2024, when today is September 25th. Mr. Chair, who writes these agenda items?
County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, this is an MCSO agenda item. They provided information to me on what the agenda item is about, which I'm happy to share. I will defer to the clerk on the date.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, Supervisors, that looks to be a typo, but let me see if I can get an answer for that date.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, the board will now consider items 26 through 33.
Mr. Chair, I have one more question.
Okay.
How come this says that it was approved October 18th, 2024?
We are getting an answer for that from the Sheriff's Department. The best information we have right now is it's probably a typographical error.
So are you saying it wasn't approved?
Mr. Chairman, I can answer that. It was approved previously. My understanding from the information that Jim Prindeville provided me, he's unable to be here because they have an important meeting, that it was approved similar to the other agenda item prior to this on October 18th, 2023. And then they had issues with the vendor supply chain and the equipment purchases, which is why they're asking it to be extended to November 30th of 2024. And this money is actually used to prevent and respond to radiological threats, accidents, and other issues. And it includes night vision binoculars, two-way radios, handheld inspection cameras, load-bearing chest rig kits, modular load-bearing body kits, and then training with non-lethal ammunition. So as you can see from this, it's all very important training and also important equipment so that they can respond to these threats. But I believe that they probably just had a typo in their agenda item, and it was October 18th, 2023, but I'll leave it to the clerk to verify.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve items 26 through 33.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under Judicial Branch, Adult Probation, item 34, appropriation adjustment. Under Juvenile Probation, item 35, appropriation adjustment. The board will now consider items 34 and 35.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under County Management, County Manager Jen Pokorski, items 36 through 38, IGAs with the City of Mesa.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion for items 36 through 38, and now I would like to take an opportunity to speak to these items.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Blue, are you still here? Okay, so you make a good point about these items, but you didn't have to wait very long. I am really proud to work with the City of Mesa for these worthwhile endeavors. Number one is the IDEA Museum, in which we're going to be providing $200,000 for this fantastic resource in the City of Mesa. Also, we're going to provide 6 air conditioning units at the Mesa Historic Museum, and one that I'm particularly proud of is that we're going to provide $100,000 to renovate the Firefighter Memorial Park in Mesa. These are all points of light in the City of Mesa. Mesa is the 3rd largest city in Arizona. It's actually the 34th, I believe, 34th or 33rd largest city in the United States. It's actually larger population-wise than either Miami or San Francisco. So just because it's next to Phoenix doesn't mean it's not an important city. And this means in a city of 500,000 people, people go to the IDEA Museum, the Mesa Historic Museum, and the Firefighter Memorial Park on a daily basis. And one of the particular things that's important for me is that our young children appreciate learning about science, learning about astronomy, learning in a variety of ways, but also we have to honor and support and cherish our first responders. And we're doing that here with the Firefighter Memorial Park. Every single day, first responders, whether they're paramedics, whether they're nurses and doctors at hospitals, but most importantly, our law enforcement officials and our firefighters are risking their lives every single day. When they wake up in the morning, they kiss their family goodbye, and there's a deal that they know that they have made with government was that they may not come home that night. So we have to remember the people that have sacrificed themselves for us to keep us safe. And I also think this is a reflection of Maricopa County, how we do the important things in a really good way in which we provide money that will be most effective for the community, which is the whole point of what we call the Community Solutions Fund. And Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your support in all of this. Blue, thank you for asking questions. But most importantly, I express my appreciation for county staff and the city of Mesa working to make these 3 items happen. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under county offices and departments, elections, adoption of updated list of general election locations. Item 40, appointments of the 2024 general election boards. Item 41, certify results of precinct committeeman draw. Item 42, Salt River Project land use license. Item 43, precinct committeeman.
Chairman, I do have one speaker form. Blue Crawley wishes to speak on item number 39.
I'm going to be commenting on 2 of the items. The first is for the effort that the county puts forth on finding all of the locations and all the effort that goes into it. I know some of my cohorts feel that all it is a scam and such. Well, this is the beginning of it. If there's any of those places that you think that people like Bill and that are going to be making wrong, this is the time to point it out and say, we need a safe and fair election, and that's what you guys have always been producing. As to the appointment of precinct committeemen, as I pointed out to Zach, I didn't have mine on ballot, and he said, well, that might have been because there were less and they just get appointed. Well, now you're doing the showing who's missing and doing appointments. Well, he's going to check. I talked to him earlier on mine, but I think we should do a little bit of outreach on that because precinct committeemen are a major part of the parties and they do make the thing work right. But most of all, I'd like to say that in the past election, your integrities were impugned and it was BS. You know, my little nickname for them is maggots because they're Make America Great Trump supporters, and the anagram for that is maggots. But that's what you get when you follow the Lord of the Flies.
The board will now consider items 39 through 43.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, emergency management, item 44. Accept funds from Department of Homeland Security. Under environmental services, item 45, amend IGA with City of Phoenix. Under finance, item 46, American Rescue Plan expenditure approvals and budget adjustments. Item 47, funds, transfers, warrants. Under human resources, item 48, market ranges.
Chairman, Supervisors, I do have a few speaker forms for items 44, 45, and 46. I will first call on Don Adams. He wishes to speak on item number 44.
Mr. Chairman, while the speakers are coming up, I would ask that staff maybe can already come down. If there's anyone here from staff that can answer those questions, we can save time. Thank you.
I would invite Mike McGee, I believe he's come down, and perhaps Blanca, and then Jason. And did you also say 45? I think Andy as well.
I'm sorry, County Manager, 45 and 46
Okay.
also.
And then Andy.
Mr. Chair and Board, federal funding is taxpayers' money. You are planning to approve over $3+ million of taxpayer dollars. Yet the border is open and not one of you board members are known on your platform, social media, to speak out about this serious problem we are having with the border being open. Yet you plan to pass $3+ million on this agenda item. Mr. Chairman, Thomas Galvin, Steve Gallardo are running for office again and spending our money, yet their social media shows no hint of complaints or any form of action that they have taken as United States citizens to put pressure on the governor about the border. That is a concern, as their votes to spend our money looks more like money laundering. How does Steve and Thomas justify their vote? They do nothing in action regarding this crisis. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick question for whoever's going to answer this question. Please address how this item, if at all, and if it not, also, is related to the border issue. Thank you.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning. I'd like to defer to Mitch to talk about this item for emergency management and explain what the funding is for, what the grant is about.
So I'm Mitchell Latch. I'm serving as the interim director for MCDEM. This particular item is called the Securing the Cities grant, and it really is about equipment and training that revolves around detecting and identifying nuclear or radiological material moving in and around the 13 largest jurisdictions in the United States, Phoenix and Maricopa County being one of those. So this money is accepting from the federal government funds for us to share with 13 partners in Maricopa County that are doing those services. So they have individual radiological detection devices, they do training, they do exercising, but it's about securing the cities from a radiological or a nuclear threat.
And Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, if I may add, emergency management, we are not a border county. We also do not have any authority over the border as a county. Just wanted to add that.
Okay, the next speaker.
Next speaker, Leslie Shepard, wishes to speak on item 44, followed by Diane Barker.
Hello, Leslie Shepard. Actually, I'm going to answer Steve Galvin's comment about that he just said to the last speaker. It says the Department of Homeland Security works to improve the security of the United States. It says the department works to include customs, border, and immigration enforcement, emergency response to natural and man-made disasters. So, it goes to anti-terrorism and cybersecurity. So I think legitimately, regardless if we're a border country or not, if we're not seeing, I'm going to more focus on you, Thomas Galvin, because you represent my district and you're running again. I have no problem getting in with Steve Gallardo for a meeting. I know he's running again, so it'd be interesting to actually set up a meeting with you. I mean, returning a phone call or an email hasn't happened. So when I do see $3 million going to Homeland Security, we're all about Homeland Security, without a doubt. The problem is it's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on you've been in an accident, your leg's been gashed wide open and it's bleeding everywhere. And so we come up with this little Band-Aid and puts a little Band-Aid on it. So I think it's a little bit legitimate question, being that I've not seen any of your social media state that you have a problem with what's going on at the border. Yet you're going to make a decision today to pass $3+ million for Homeland Security, but I don't see you shaking the rafters. And you say, well, I'm just the Board of Supervisors. I don't deal with that. I'm not on the border. Well, guess what? Neither am I. Neither are the people in this room, but we're bringing it to your attention, and we're just wondering why you don't use your platform and your position to bring more attention to this and shake the rafters. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add, this is not paying $3 million to Homeland Security. It's accepting a grant from Homeland Security so that we can respond to a potential man-made incident here to protect our county.
But where does that money come from?
No shouting, no shouting. Mr. Chairman, we cannot have outbursts here in this meeting. We have rules of decorum.
Next speaker, please.
Next speaker, Diane Barker, wishes to speak on item number 45.
Yes, good morning, Jack Sellers and Board of Supervisors. I'm in District 5, Diane Barker. I'm glad to see Steve here today. I missed you last meeting. And that GPEC item, I remember I've got a memory that you were going to help, some of the minorities possibly get on GPEC. So I remind you that. I am standing in opposition of this. People that do know me, I think that I walk the talk. I am for a better environment, and I do use multimodal transportation. But on this, what it is, it's recyclable. And what I see that there's a processing fee going up is recyclables really an anachronism? Do we need to reform the system? From what my research is, actually Arizona has no mandate by law for recyclables. In 2018, they found out that there was a lot of jam-ups in the processing. And so now, does that mean the processing fee is up? Is there anybody that can answer the question, what is this processing fee change? Is the city having to pay more for this kind of program? I know where I am, we don't get enough information on really how we should handle the recyclables and what items to be put in. And I understand in 2019, China was a big buyer of our recyclables, but then we made it so that we wouldn't do the imports of plastics. So again, can you answer that question?
Mr. Chairman, Andy Linton is here and he can answer that question.
Chairman Sellers, members of the board. I'm Andy Linton, Director of the Environmental Services Department. There is a lot of variation in the recyclables market. The fee that the county pays is the difference. Well, first of all, the county operates 6 transfer stations where we receive these recyclables. We don't have the ability to process waste at these transfer stations, and so we enter into contracts with other entities to process the waste. In this case, it's for recyclables with the City of Phoenix, and the fee that we pay is the difference between the cost to the City of Phoenix to process the recyclables and the price at which they can sell those recyclables. So the big variable there is that volatility in the recyclables market. In this case, the cost to recycle the services is $98.79, and they can currently sell the waste for $70.14. So that means the cost of the county would be the difference of a little over $28 per ton.
Supervisor Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Diane, appreciate you asking the question on this item, though. I would direct you back to the City of Phoenix, because when I was over there, we actually, working with Public Works, did a lot of effort on educating people about what can go in the blue can or not. If they've slipped on that, I would encourage them to get back to it. But I think you'll find that they really do a good job of answering those questions and do try and educate people about that. Because if you get the wrong thing, if you get plastic bags in the blue can, that can slow things down, which will then lead additionally to higher costs for all of us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Headed to City Council.
Chairman, 3 speakers on item number 46. I will first call Leslie Shepard, followed by Dan Schroeder.
Hello again. Okay, the American Rescue Plan Act expenditure approvals budget adjustment. I'm looking at some of these reductions, and I look at the category and which category, behavioral health being reduced almost $100,000. Rent and mortgage assistant evictions, which, we've got that going through the roof right now. That's being reduced by $600,000 plus. You've got the affordable housing development being reduced by $1,400,000. I look at some of these things, and then I look at the increases. Attorney General, $861,000 increase. County Manager, $341,000 increase. I'm trying to understand how you're making these decisions to approve to reduce some of these things, and then you're making a decision to increase some of these things, and how vague they are. And county attorney, we've got one in here that I'm very surprised he's been so quiet so often. Good to have you here, Liddy. Item number 54, I know it doesn't really tie in with this, but it does. Because here, you're actually reducing something under the affordable housing opportunity, but in item number 54, you're completely increasing it by $2 million. So I'm trying to understand, how are you justifying these things, and how are you coming to these conclusions to have this hodgepodge of flip-flop of numbers? Where do you get that information to do that? Who came up with these agenda items?
County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, I will ask Mike and Jason to address that, but before they do, just wanted to give an overall summary of this. So the ARPA money has to be obligated by the end of this year, which is generally under a contract, and spent by the end of 2026. So some of these adjustments are to account for areas where money was obligated and then couldn't be spent or in that time frame. So it is not necessarily taking money away from an affordable housing project. It could be the affordable housing project came in under budget. So I will let Mike and Jason explain a little bit further, but we have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in affordable housing and rental assistance in the last couple of years to help people. But I just wanted to give an overall summary. But
Mike I appreciate
and Jason,
that real quick before they start speaking and I run it. But the county attorney, you're adding money to that. The county manager, look at the money you're adding to that.
And I can speak directly, Mr. Chairman, to the county manager. The county manager money, it just is under the county manager budget. And that money is actually for advertising to help people understand about the opportunities that are out there for some of these human services programs. It is just where that money is housed. It isn't necessarily to the county manager's office. It's housed under my budget.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'll make a few comments and then turn it over to Jason. So my name is Mike McGee. I'm the county's chief financial officer, and this is a reallocation of funds between projects that have already been approved by the board previously. And my team and I, we go through regularly and review all of there's over 100 projects that are ARPA funded. We review every single project with the departments to see if they're overfunded or underfunded. And then we do this reallocation based on if there's projects that are currently overfunded, we'll pull that money back. And then we have projects that are underfunded, we will move the money to those projects. And it really results in a net zero when you add all of these up. So it's just moving the money to where it's needed and taking it from where it's not needed. And a lot of it is based on contracts and estimates. As those estimates come in firmer, the numbers change and we try to true it up. Jason?
So Jason Matthews, I'm the interim director of the Human Services Department, Chairman Sellers, member of the board. As indicated by Mike and also by the county manager, this is an opportunity, especially within the rent and mortgage assistance and the affordable housing development support, as indicated by the constituent, an opportunity for us to be efficient and effective with these dollars. And just as said, when we do have those contracts that are they just basically said they're not going to be able to spend all those funds. This is our opportunity to reallocate those funds and just to be efficient with these taxpayer dollars to other projects, including other projects that may include also more affordable housing or other elements.
Okay, but what I heard is the bottom line is all of these projects have been approved. It's just a matter of the allocation between the different projects.
That is correct.
Mr. Chair, I also just wanted to address the question about the county attorney's office. That's actually a reduction of over 800,000. That's not an addition.
Okay, thank you.
Next up to speak on item 46, Dan Schroeder. Nancy Wilming will be the last speaker on item 46.
Dan Schroeder, Chairman and Board of Supervisors. On item 46, this is talking about reducing over $7 million from the public health clinics, while at the same time awarding over $5 million for weather relief. So two questions. What's the justification that's being used by the board of members to approve these two things, as far as why are you taking money from the health clinics? And the other question is, what exactly, could I get more specific detail as to what the weather modification, or the increase in fees for weather relief? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, that was a good question. We have we're expanding with the use of ARPA dollars, expanding the number of public health clinics we have. And as Mike had mentioned earlier, it comes in as estimates for what we think the construction is going to cost. So we were able to reduce those, once we had more firmed up numbers, reduce the amount of money allocated there, and then increase the money that we had allocated for weather relief, which is heat relief, which will help us fund heat relief centers through 2026.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you. I also want to say congratulations to the board for actually denying the first thing ever that I've seen down here.
Last speaker, Nancy Wilming, on item 46.
Mr. Chairman and Board, I'd simply like to find out who puts together this agenda? Who exactly, what group or person determines the agenda, and how much research do they do on this particular project?
Mr. Chairman, I will share the answer with the clerk, but the departments that manage this work, they spend weeks, sometimes months, putting together these agenda items as they identify needs in the community. That is vetted, as you know, with all of your offices extensively, and then the clerk's office is the final compiler of the agenda.
And real quickly, just to that point, just to add, and I think it's important to realize the county is a lot different than a municipality. We do have an elected sheriff. We have an elected county attorney, treasurer, assessor, and they operate and govern their own departments where they bring their proposals to the board that they research as well. So like when there's comments about the county attorneys and how the sheriff's office is spending money or receiving a grant, that is done by an elected official that is voted upon by the people. So,
Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to add to Jen's, that is correct. The departments submit their agenda items that are reviewed amongst their directors and with the chiefs of staff. They come through the clerk of the board's office, and we compile the agenda. And I do not have any other speakers for these items, Chairman.
Okay. The board will now consider items 44 through 48.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 44 through 48, and if I get a second, I'd like to make a comment on number 44.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. Chairman, if I may, regarding item number 44, I want to thank the staff who worked on this item. This is $3 million through the Department of Homeland Security. I think the United States is at a perilous moment where we're facing substantial threats from abroad. And I want to identify 3 specific threats, but we have many more threats. Russia, North Korea, and Iran are the three threats that I think of. And the fact that we're now providing $3 million to do what is called, and excuse me if I can't pronounce it because I'm not the best speaker, radiological detection is really and vitally important. And there's a question of whether or not we are a border county. Well, in the United States of America, I think every single county is a border county. And despite the speakers today in opposition to this agenda item, I think that this is money well spent in the millions of dollars that shows the board's dedication to making sure that our 4.5 million residents are safe, and also that this recognizes that we're working with our federal partners to ensure this in happening. The other thing is, while I appreciate people taking interest in my social media, I think you take more interest in it than even I do, and certainly more than my wife does. But my grandmother taught me that actions speak louder than words. And every single time we meet here as a board, we are doing what I consider action. If you want blowhards and people who just pontificate on social media, the state legislature is right down the street. They do a great job of that. But if you want to see actually putting rubber to the road, then come here to the Board of Supervisors. And I can tell you by example, when I meet with my constituents, I will now be talking to them about this $3 million that we have provided out of abundance of caution regarding our border issues to keep people safe. And Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your leadership on this item as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and that motion did carry. Okay, under Human Services, item 49 through 58, amend IGAs in agreement with City of Surprise, Town of Gilbert, Scottsdale Unified School District, City of Scottsdale, Mesa Unified School District, City of Avondale, Arizona Department of Economic Security, Newtown Community Development Corp., Town of Wickenburg, Town of Youngtown. Item 59, accept second-year grant funds from Arizona Governor's Office.
Chairman, I have one speaker form. Nancy Wilming wishes to speak on item number 54. That is the amendment to the IGA with City of Avondale.
Mr. Chairman and Board, this may be redundant, but I would like to ask, why is it that this item that you're going to approve is $2,750,000 for Avondale? And I ask because you just, in agenda item 46, passed to reduce it by $1,400,000 through the affordable housing development.
County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, I can have Jason come up for any details, but as I mentioned, there are large buckets of money that are related to affordable housing. So that was what was reduced in the previous item, and this is an amendment to an existing IGA with Avondale.
Chairman Sellers, member of the board, that is correct. These are in comparison to the previous agenda item where we were looking at how to reallocate some contracts that maybe weren't being able to spend down. This was a separate contract and a wonderful opportunity with the community of Avondale to really help affordable housing in that community.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for the speaker. Ms. Womack. Just a quick question. No, for you. Yeah, I just have a quick question. You brought up Avondale. Are you a resident of Avondale?
No.
So you're not. Okay. Well, thank you. I just wanted to let you know that to the board, I just want to let you know that I did talk to this Mayor of Avondale, Ken Weiss. I know quite often everyone doesn't see it, but we talk to so many council members. You're just appointing one now who's rolling off and now is going to come on to the Maricopa County, that it's so important. And he wanted to specifically thank our board for items like this, where they are capable of, we have those ARPA funds and we are pinpointing them into our districts in sometimes big ways, sometimes small ways, but all the way, always with an impact to their communities. And they're just as happy for Wickenburg with these types of funds as they are for themselves. And so anyway, I just wanted to, Ms. Womack, thank you for bringing it up. It's Avondale, and we talked about this, and our staffs talk about it in order to fit municipal budgets together with funds and grants. And I appreciate your vision and being able to bring it to light, because sometimes we just roll right through these agendas and don't really have a chance to talk about the specific projects and what we know about them as we fund them. And so I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Mr. Chairman, just to piggyback, I'm actually meeting with Mayor Weiss on Tuesday morning. So it's another meeting. I'll be out there with him. I'm going to him to sit down and discuss some projects out there in Avondale still. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, just Tuesday. I'm going to meet with Mayor Weiss again. This morning, I had a long, while I was late, I had a long Zoom meeting with Buckeye High School. So there's always something going on, and I think this board has done a remarkable job working with so many municipalities and school districts and partnering up. How do we maximize every dollar by partnering together? So yeah, I believe Maricopa County does a wonderful job when it comes to partnering up.
Yep.
Thank you, Supervisor. The board will now consider items 49 through 59.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve items number 49 through 59.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, under medical examiner, item 60, program letter of agreement with Mayo Clinic, Arizona. 61, Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Grants. Under Parks and Recreation, item 62, permanent addition to the fleet. Item 63, amend monopole use management agreement with Crown Castle. Under Procurement Services, item 64, amend treasurer information system consultant contract. 65, Dunlap office space tenant improvements. Item 66, online public records and legal research services. Under Public Defense, item 67, accept funds from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Chairman, I have one speaker form. Looks like Joe Hoft. He wishes to speak on item number 66, the online public records and legal research services item.
My name is Joe Hoff, Chair and Board. This contract provides legal research services. The County Attorney, Public Defender's Office, Office of Legal Defender, Office of Legal Advocacy, Sheriff's Office, Public Health, and other county departments use this contract for legal searches. This value increase is necessary to cover current and future procurement card payments and future spend through 2/28. Request contract value increase of $225,000 that would change the current award amount from $4,068,000 to $4,293,000. We are paying private companies to provide info on legal searches, civil or criminal or both. Why are we paying for outside services? Thank you.
County Manager.
Mr. Chairman, Kevin Tyne, who's our Director of Procurement Services, is here.
Good morning. Members of the board, my name is Kevin Tyne. I am the Director of the Office of Procurement Services. This contract is a 10-year contract. It does expire next February, but there is a need to extend the amounts to cover. These are online public records and legal research search. So it's LexisNexis and online attorney and other departments utilizing this service for their investigations and things of that nature. And this is just an additional $225,000 to finish out this contract, and then we'll have a new contract next year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would add too, as someone as an attorney who's used those legal services over the years, it is far more efficient for the taxpayers that we utilize these services as opposed to having lawyers using books. Even with lawyers with reasonable attorney's fees and hourly billable rates would run much higher than these legal online searches and very recognized in the private sector. So I'm very supportive of this item.
Mr. Chairman, I echo those comments.
Okay, the board will now consider items 60 through 67.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve items 60 through 67.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under Public Health, item 68, accept funds from the Centers for Disease Control. Item 69 through 71, amend agreements with Arizona Department of Health Services and Valleywise Health. Item 72, notice of award to accept funds from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Item 73, agreement with Arizona Faith Network. 74, purchase order for IGA with Arizona Department of Health Services. Item 75, trademark license agreement with Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Chairman, I do have one speaker form from Roger Longquist, wishes to speak on item number 68.
What? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Roger Lindquist here, LD12 Precinct Committeeman. Still new to the job, but it's a civic conscience thing, I guess you might call it. So I'm a little awkward up here at the mic, but I'll do the best I can. I had to work today. I'm burdened with employment, which is actually a gift. A lot of people aren't as fortunate, but I've dedicated a lot of time to, since 2020 actually. Like I say, it's just a matter of conscience. So I got to be honest with you, I didn't do a lot of research, didn't do any research because I just got here from work. But the Centers for Disease Control, if I had to guess, would have something to do with endearing us to public funds, which I'll speak about too in more of a general sense, since I don't know the details. But the biggest concern that I have with accepting money from anything as it relates to the federal is that a lot of times it seems like the federal, with what little I know about this, it seems like the federal tries to endear the local by holding us hostage. And when they hold you hostage, they hold me hostage. It's interesting that I heard just when I got in here that it's not really money, it's a grant. Well, I'm not that smart, but I think I know where the grant monies come from, you know? Just a wild guess on my part, but anyway, that's about all I got to say on 68, but I hope and don't know for sure if do we have another meeting between now? I guess that's my one question. Between now and the election, do we have any more Board of Supervisors meetings?
Yes.
That's a good thing. I promise I'll be more prepared at the next one.
Mr. Chairman, actually, I think this is kind of worth exploring if someone can talk to us about this, because I understand that this addresses fatal drug overdoses, and this was a competitive grant. Is there someone who can shed light on this?
I'd like Marcy Flanagan to come up.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Marcy Flanagan, and I am an assistant county manager. This is the Centers for Disease Control Overdose Data to Action. This is a competitive award. This is the second time that we have been awarded this grant. It is a 5-year term grant. It is extremely competitive. We are one of just a handful of local health departments that have been awarded this funds. And what it does is it looks at the data, the overdose data, and works together with partners to put prevention programs and treatment programs in place, harm reduction programs, because we all know that overdose is a public health epidemic that's happening in our country. And so this program works very closely with our program that oversees the opioid settlement dollars to help enhance all of the services and the work that we are doing around opioids and other drug overdose programs.
Mr. Chairman, I have two quick questions. Ms. Flanagan, would you agree that drug overdose is a problem here in Maricopa County?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Galvin, I absolutely would agree with that statement. We saw a huge increase in overdoses over the past 10 years. We've seen a slight decrease, but I think a lot of that is because of these funds and the work that our public health department is doing around this work.
And would you agree, Ms. Flanagan, that a lot of the discussion regarding fatal overdose deaths in Maricopa County is related to issues we have with the border and fentanyl coming across the border?
Mr. Chairman and Supervisor Galvin, I would agree that most of the overdoses that occur are illicit drugs, which are illegal, and a lot of those do come from outside of the United States into our country.
And Ms. Flanagan, final question. Would a lot of other jurisdictions wish that they can get this money that we're going to apply to use to help people who are suffering from drugs?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Galvin, absolutely. As I said, this was competitive, and there are just a couple, less than I think a dozen awards that go with this, and I can't imagine how many applications they have.
Flanagan, thank you. Sir, I hope that was edifying for you. Thank you.
Can I respond at all, or is that not allowed?
I'm sorry.
I did quit early. I'm not allowed to?
Your time's up. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just a relevant fact.
Mr. Chairman.
There are 3 people here that have been
I'm going to make a motion to approve items number 68 through 75.
than most.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under Transportation, 76, transfer of right-of-way to the City of Avondale. Item 77, IGA with City of Phoenix. Item 78, easement right-of-way and relocation assistance documents. The board will now consider items 76 through 78.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under Industrial Development Authority, items 79 through 81, resolutions for issuance of bonds for Encito Schools, Jesse Owens Parkway Apartments, and Seton Roman Catholic High School. The board will now consider items 79 through 81.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under setting of hearings, air quality, item 82, incorporation by reference, Rule 360, news source performance standards, Rule 370, federal hazards air pollution program, Rule 371, acid rain, and Appendix G, incorporated materials. Under item 83, Rule 510, air quality standards. The board will now consider items 82 through item 82 and 83.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under setting of hearings, I'm going to take items 80, under Clerk of the Board, item 84, bingo license application for Briarwood Country Club, item 85, de-annexation from the City of Phoenix, and items 87 through 89 under Transportation, patent easement abandonments as listed on the agenda. We will do item 86 under Planning and Zoning separately.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve numbers 84, 85, 87, 88, and 89.
We have a motion
Second, Mr. Chairman.
and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, under Planning and Development, item 86, Planning and Zoning, setting of hearings. Supervisor Vice Chair Galvin will recuse on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The board will now consider item 86.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval item number 86.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under consent agenda, items 90 through 92, cancellation of election and approval of appointments. Item 93, delinquent property tax interest waiver. Item 94, duplicate warrants. Item 95, Head Start report. Items 96 and 97, donations. 98, minutes. 99, secured, unsecured tax roll corrections. The board will now consider items 90 through 99.
Move approval of items 90 through 99.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Consent agenda continued. Item 100, settlement resolution of property tax cases and claims. Supervisor Gates will recuse on this item.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
The board will now consider item 100.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve item number 100.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Under Board of Supervisors addendum, Clerk of the Board, setting of hearing. Item 101, setting of hearing for the submitted petitions to the Amberwood Estates Irrigation Water Delivery District. Under County Attorney, item 102, competition impracticable for Snell and Wilmer. Item 103, conflict waiver for Dickinson Wright. Under Parks and Recreation, item 104, exercise BLM land lease at Santan Mountain Regional Park. The board will now consider items 101 through 104.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Chairman, if we may, just to go back to item number 32 before we move on, I do have confirmation that the date referenced October 18th, 2024 is a typo, should be October 18 of 2023, and that is on item number 32.
Okay, thank you, Clerk. Okay, we will now recess as the Board of Supervisors and convene as the Flood Control District Board of Directors. Under Flood Control District, item 105, sell excess parcel. 106, minutes. 107, easement right-of-way and relocation assistance documents. The board will now consider items 105 through 107.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve items 105, 106, 107.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We will now adjourn as the Flood Control Board of Directors and convene as the Library District Board of Directors. Under Library District, item 108, minutes. 109, donations. The board will now consider items 108 and 109.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. We will now adjourn as the Library District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Item 110, public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have anything to report regarding public comment email responses?
Chairman, I do not have any email comments to report, but I do have some public comment speaker forms that I will bring to you.
Okay, thank you. Uh, 13? We have 13 comments. Okay, first up is Don Adams, followed by Kim Baker.
This is a post from President Donald J. Trump from a week ago. Cease and desist. I, together with many attorneys and legal scholars, am watching the sanctity of the 2024 presidential election very closely because I know better than most the rampant cheating and skullduggery that has taken place by the Democrats and the rhinos in the 2020 presidential election. It was a disgrace to our nation. Therefore, the 2024 election, where votes have just started being cast, will be under the closest professional scrutiny, and when I win, those people that cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences so that this depravity of justice does not happen again. We cannot let our country further devolve into a third world nation. And we won't, because beware that this legal exposure extends to lawyers, political operatives, donors, illegal voters, and corruption election officials. And those involved in unscrupulous behavior will be sought out, caught, and prosecuted at levels, unfortunately, never be seen in this country. 2020, it ain't over yet.
Kim Baker and then Garrett Odell.
Thank you, excuse me. Thank you, board. I want to say, Christ is risen. I say again, Christ is risen. Today, I've handed you a document stamped by the court, the Superior Court. It's stamped. It's legal. I'm giving it to you because I'm asking for the. It says what I'm asking. I'm asking that you take this serious because when it's all said, it will be done. It will be done. So thank you. Today, you won't have to leave early. To take my time. I'm talking about you, sir. So today, I'm giving you back 50 seconds.
Garrett Odell and then Tom Arnold.
Morning. Garrett Odell. I apologize for my attire. No disrespect intended. I wasn't entirely sure I could attend today. I've been up since the wee hours pouring concrete. There's an old saying in concrete, everyone waits for concrete, concrete waits for no one. I watch every meeting on YouTube. This is my first time attending. For the last 4 years, it's felt like the movie Groundhog's Day. Every meeting broadcasts the same group of people speaking on the same propaganda, and that is, without merit, still trying to litigate the results of an election from 4 years ago and intimidate their way to a different outcome this cycle, still thrashing against the will of the people and the democratic process. They represent a group that will only believe the outcome of their candidate wins, a complete affront to the rule of law and to free and fair elections. The reason I came to speak today was I was spurred on after watching the HBO documentary that several of this board's members were a part of, Stopping the Steal. I watched those same members and other Arizona elected officials incredulously lamenting the fact the face-eating leopard party having unironically eaten their very own faces. What are each of you in this board doing in preparation for avoiding the very same outcome in 40 days? In 4 years, will we all be watching Stopping the Steal, the sequel? How many more assaults on your character, your integrity will you endure before you place the fate of the country, the state, and ostensibly the entire country above the want and will of Donald Trump? Denounce the leader of that party. Move on for the betterment of everyone. You owe him nothing. Arizona needs your help.
Thank you. Tom Arnold and then Leslie Shepard.
Hi, my name is Tom Arnold. I work in the City of Phoenix Fire Department. Real quick, I'm from a fellow worker. From Backstreet Banter on Facebook.
You got the wrong one.
Excuse me.
Sorry. It's not an official City of Phoenix endorsement or, anyway, This is Joel Navarro. I'm a firefighter, a football coach, and a former Tempe City Council member, and now I'm running for Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. My opponent is a MAGA-backed extremist who won't say if he will certify elections if his party doesn't win. That is why the incumbent Republican Jack Sellers is endorsing me. Will you join me and Jack in putting country over party and donating to my campaign today? I intend to reach out to Joel to find out his definition of a MAGA extremist. Real quick, and I'll breeze through this, may not be able to get through all of it. It's from John Teagan. I have no idea who he is. We are voting for the country we want to leave our children and grandchildren. That moment when someone asks, I can't believe you're voting for Trump, I simply say, I'm not voting for Trump, or fill in the blank. I'm voting for the First Amendment and freedom of speech. I'm voting for the right to speak my opinion and not be censored. Secure borders and legal immigration. For election integrity to include mandatory voter ID. Why would anyone vote against it? I've run out of time. There was a whole bunch more of things that he would vote for. And what I would like to express is if that is a Make America Great extremist, I'm proud to wear that, and I hope that you folks will be the same.
Leslie Shepard and then Brad Goss.
Well, based on some of the comments after we're done, where you guys get to make your extra comments, I've changed what I'm going to talk about. Mr. Pontificate. Nobody's that into your social media because you don't, I mean, we can look at what you put out there. It's very obvious where you stand. You like to go to the Phoenician. You like to go to all the little rich spots. You don't go to your own LD, and you don't talk to your own people. When you say you talk to your constituents, I understand you rub elbows with the rich, but you have nothing to do with the other people in your own district that actually have hardships. You can sit there and do your little sarcastic face, but the bottom line is that's the truth, because your actions do speak louder than words. You don't show up. You don't do anything to meet with people in your own area if they don't have deep pockets. So good job, you're right. Actions do speak louder than words. You know that we're having a hand count that's going on, and it's a bipartisan hand count. You guys are aware of the fact that we're supposed to have free and fair elections. The Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 21 says, free and equal elections. All elections shall be free and equal. And no power or civil military at any time can interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. So I know that there's people that come in here and want to tell you did a great job. I'm not a Trump fan, so let's make sure before the hit piece goes off that you're not going to try and throw me in a category. What I do believe is the Constitution. I do believe that we are a republic. When I hear democracy, I hear people that don't understand what we are. When I hear people want to point at a certain individual as if they're the reason we do what we do, I see people that probably follow people and they don't follow the Constitution. You're all sworn to uphold the oath, all of you. And you're going to be held accountable. I'm just going to tell you, Executive Order 13848, it's going to bite you.
Brad Goss and then Joe Hopp.
This is Brad Goss. Mr. Chair and Board of Supervisors, did you or did you not swear an oath to uphold and support the Constitution? I ask you this because people here in Arizona have put it on record for several Board of Supervisor meetings that we're preparing for a hand count for the general election. Under the United States citizens are paying attention to the court rulings as we, the people throughout the whole United States. We, the bipartisan people, are effectively preparing all counties in Arizona for a hand count. We are asking you to be part of the solution by allowing us to have access to the voting centers once the polls close on Election Day. Thomas Galvin and Steve Gallardo as two attorneys who are running for re-election. You two men claim to have sworn an oath to support the Constitution, are willing to support the Arizona United States citizens to have an equal elections of transparency, just as the Georgia United States citizens. Based on the ruling in Georgia, the Georgia United States citizens are being provided constitutional elections. The Georgia ruling aligns with the Constitution, which gives transparency and gives power back to the Georgia United States citizens. Thomas Gavin and Stephen Gallardo, are you prepared to uphold the Constitution and support Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 21? Says free and fair elections. All elections shall be free and equal, and no power, civil or military, shall at any time interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. Emphasis equal, and we all have the same rights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing your name right, but Joe Hopf. And then Stephanie Pleasance.
Chair and board, pronunciation, the P is silent. It's like double F, Hoff. Thank you. Did you or did you not swear on oath to uphold, support the Constitution? Mr. Chair and Thomas Galvin and Steve Gallardo, you have been receiving criticism stating that you have not been supporting the Constitution and you are not planning to uphold the Constitution in our upcoming general election. The Ombudsman Guide clearly states that you are allowed to respond to criticism. Mr. Chair, you have said in previous Board of Supervisor meetings that you and as board members are not allowed to make comments. When we criticize you during public comments, Mr. Chairman and board, this is an untrue statement. The Ombudsman let us know that you most certainly can respond to criticism. Mr. Chairman, your handlers, Thomas, Steve, Clint, and Bill, have continued to justify yourself to speakers and even guide you along to change the subject or pretend comments cannot be made, basically gaslighting the public. Thomas Galvin, you are the main board member who continues to be confrontational and belittling to the speakers. For those that are educated, Thomas, we know you are attempting to look like a leader when you cannot even make it to your own LD meetings for over 2 years now. My criticism to you is it looks as if you think the law of the land, examples, Arizona Constitution, Article 2, Section 21, free and equal elections, quote, all elections shall be free and equal. You, Thomas, and Steve appear to think this is optional. Steve and Thomas, is that your stance, that it is optional? Thank you.
Stephanie Pleasance, and then Dan Schroeder.
Mr. Chair and Board of Supervisors, we are starting to see a pattern of avoidance regarding accountability from you, Board of Supervisors. Thomas Galvin and Steve Gallardo, of whether or not you find the law of the land as optional is an answer. You've made interruptions on several occasions during agenda items and public comments in the past. So, when you keep silent when asked if you think the Constitution is optional, then you are loudly stating that you do not think the law of the land is the supreme law. That, in itself, is a violation of your oath of office. You've been both guilty of belittling and abusing your position. As you know, this public meeting is recorded, and many of us make our own recordings of our public meetings. Thomas Galvin and Steve Gallardo, your abusive and negligent behavior has been captured for over a year. Article 2, Section 21 says, free and equal elections, all elections shall be free and equal, and no power, civil or military, shall at any time interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage. Equal. U.S. citizens in Arizona have the same rights as Georgia U.S. citizens.
Thank you. Dan Schroeder and then Suzette Coggins. Your time is up. Thank you. Dan Schroeder and then Suzette Coggins. I will ask you to leave now, please. Your time is complete. You're done.
I'm done. I'm sorry, Mr. Sellers, I did not hear you. I'm happy to leave. Thank you.
Dan Schroeder and then Suzette Coggins.
All right, I'm Dan Schroeder, Mr. Chair and Board of Supervisors. You guys, you are responsible for the day of voting. Interference in our elections has been on your watch. The people have asked you to do the right thing for no less than 2 voting cycles. Executive Order 13848, and you can smile again if you want, Thomas. It's serious, it's still in effect, and it's got a national emergency tied to it. It's about election interference. The Dominion voting machines are election interference. They're completely unconstitutional. It clearly says in the Arizona Constitution that the voting must be done in secret. Once you send in an envelope, who's to say somebody can't tie the envelope address and name to how they voted? We completely lose all chain of custody with mail-in voting. It's illegal. We're supposed to have all votes counted in public. They're not counted in public. They're counted, if they even make it to run back, they're counted by machines. The machines have been shown to be completely fraudulent. Breaking the chain of custody, when the ballots go into the machines can and have been rigged to flip votes according to an algorithm. Clinton Eugene Curtis in 2016 went on record before a judge stating that he wrote an algorithm in Florida to trick the vote. He rigged the machine to reflect 49 to 51%. He came here to our legislative group in February 13th of 23 and showed us how the machines don't work. You guys are all under a military operation, and you can laugh at 13848 all you want. You're all being watched, and everything's going to come to a head.
Next up is Suzette Coggins, and then after her is Roger Lindquist.
Hi, my name is Suzette Coggins, Mr. Chair and Board of Supervisors. I am finally retired, and I decided to do something with my time. And so I started going to precinct committeeman meetings, and I became one this year. And so then I was asked to come and train to do the hand counts, and I didn't understand what that was about, but now I'm realizing I feel like it's very important. So we're preparing for a bipartisan hand count throughout Arizona, and we are asking all political parties to help us. And so the Arizona Constitution, under Article 7, Section 1, the method of voting secrecy, all elections by the people shall be ballot or by such other method as may be prescribed by law, provided that secrecy in voting shall be preserved. When our ballots are put in the unlawful tabulation machines, chain of custody is broken. Article 2, Section 21 says free and equal elections. All elections shall be free and equal, and no power, civil or military, shall at any time interfere to prevent the free exercise of the right of suffrage, emphasis equal. U.S. citizens in Arizona have the same rights as this new thing that happened in Georgia, the Georgia U.S. citizens. Therefore, we're asking you to do the right thing. Cooperate with United States citizens in Arizona by supporting our bipartisan effort to have hand count teams. We know recently in Arizona that the court ruled nearly 98,000 Arizonans whose citizenship hadn't been confirmed can vote the full ballot. We are watching the lawlessness that's involved in today's elections. I actually just served for the first time on an election, and can somebody illegal, somebody that's not a citizen, get a U.S. driver's license? That's my main question. And motor vehicle couldn't tell me when I went down and asked them. Can a non-citizen person get a driver's license in Arizona?
Roger Lindquist and then Christina Tyler.
Roger Lindquist here, LD12 PC, veteran in training. Like I say, I took time off work, and I want to thank, before I forget, Mr. Hickman. You congratulated me on almost 25 years of sobriety back in December, and I spoke on that day, and I had no intentions of speaking on that day. I had given my time to a guy named Daniel Wood, who somehow got thrown out of that meeting for reasons unknown to me. So I did the best I could, but I was here to tell you that I was able to get 25 years of sobriety. John Elway played his last football game on the day I got sober at the now closed St. Luke's Hospital down on 16th Street, which I just found out about a week ago. And apparently there's something going on down there. But anyway, that facility is closed. So we're closing mental health facilities, which is what people say, why did you quit drugs and alcohol? And I said, suicidal depression can cause that. And so what I want you guys to understand is I don't know if you or anyone in your family has ever battled drug and alcohol addiction, but I deal with it every single day. In any situation that was caused directly or indirectly by anybody involved with this border nonsense, anybody, I do believe the market was big enough before this all started to happen. We had plenty of drug addicts and alcoholics to work with. And to describe what's happening now as overwhelming is the understatement of today. So please close the border and start listening to guys like me and the people.
Roger.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations on your sobriety. Christina Tyler and then Blue is the last speaker.
Today, again, I want to do still a continuation of what I had spoken about the last time, but pivot my goal and my approach when it comes to it. Basically, Gallardo, I would like to have a meeting conversation with you regarding some of the ideas that I have that would make things more accessible. I understand the counter arguments when it comes to why a meeting is currently not from home, even due to disability, is because I understand that you guys see it as it's reasonable to submit a video submission beforehand. My side of it is just that I should be allowed to speak at a meeting too from home even when I'm having medical flare-ups. Again, I'm willing to have my neurosurgeon even submit evidence. I'm willing to fill out ROIs to show that no, I'm not lying about any of the disabilities that I have. And the other thing that I want to mention too, so that way it's also clear, because I think it's important for people to understand state statute, so we're approaching things appropriately, that ARS 38-431.01H actually says that individual members of the public body may respond to criticism by individuals who address the public body during the call to the public, but public body may not collectively discuss or take action on the complaint unless the matter is specifically listed on the agenda. That's why I would like to have a meeting with you specifically, Gallardo. I understand that you not have to, but I would like that meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Blue, last speaker.
I've got what you're going to be doing tomorrow. For part of it, it's the agenda for the RPTA, and it's got a couple of interesting things in here that we will get to in a moment, but I'll start with, I've got up people here how many times pointing out service changes that hadn't been occurring, an expansion of the bus system and such. So when I got a copy of the new legislation, and it says in here, the bus transit will nearly double the region's existing funding for buses. You don't even have half of what we gave you back in the 1980s. You never got that done. In fact, with the service changes that are coming up in the document, where's Litchfield Road? That was supposed to be done and put in this year. So when the actual plan that you have dealt with, in which the city said, well, we don't want buses, you know, look at Paradise Valley. Is there a reason that you can't get from Glendale to Scottsdale on the bus? Yeah, because Paradise Valley says we don't need one here. I look at this document and I see all the road improvements that they're going to do on the arterials, and I go, wouldn't one of the things that they need to do on there is the bus? Where are the stops, et cetera, that are going to be done on the expansion? Zero. Of the 30 roadways you're going to expand, how many of them have a bus right now that goes the whole area? 2, 7th Avenue and 7th Street. So I know that I've only got 15 seconds left, so what I'll say is, with the ineptitude of the system and it not taking care of what it should, I would request yourselves, because you can see that it's totally wrong, that you vote no.
Thank you, Blue. Okay, summary of current events. County Manager.
Nothing today, Chairman. Thank you.
Supervisor Gallardo.
Nothing today, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Gates.
Nothing today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Hickman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to just say, again, thank you for being a wise chairman. And this is your second go at this. And some of us have had that experience, Bill and myself, namely, and maybe the two other guys who will win their elections will have their chance in the next 4 years. We'll see what happens and what the voter says about that. But I remember after following a chairman that we were able to make our own set of rules and how meetings go, and we try to be as good as we can for public input and everything else to not only provide the venue in which to speak, but also the time to do it. And I was really cognizant of the people that are still in the workforce having to come out here, take out. I saw two gentlemen discuss what it took for them to get here, to come out of the workforce, but they did. 9:30, they were here. I transparently and through the public, I would like to ask for a further look at speakers here. Speaker slips are being filled out, because I just looked to see speaker slips are being filled out for others, maybe to get past your time constraints about being here on time. So I would like to take a further look at that. I heard from a resident for the first time finding out that which area she lives in, which district she lives in for the first time. But I can't tell anything about that other than the one guy that showed up for the first time, and he obviously filled out his own speaker slip. He obviously got here in time in order to place it in the clerk's hands within the 10 minutes that you allow. I would hope that we could have a little bit more vision on that to make sure that people that are here, that have come from work, get here on time, because it's hard, but they comply with your rules, but others are not complying with your rules. So I would just implore you to take another look at that to make sure we're doing everything we can for people that are here to come and question, because it's truly their question and not someone else's. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Vice Chair. Meeting is adjourned.